We're back with another episode of the Here's the Deal podcast, the Max Baker Jr. story. I am Jay Ramone, Max Baker to my right. We have a special guest with us, as well as Jeff Browning and Josh Lupton, who are here as well. And I will let Max introduce Alan and tell him, everyone about Alan. But where we're going to start today, you started with your first record store with Midnight Music, and that had just come to an end, where you were leaving that particular establishment and you were starting Choice Music. So what year was that you started Choice?
I started Choice in 94.
Okay.
So it was like, you kick it back to November of 93, and I'd flown out to Hollywood with a guy named Randy B., and he had owned Midnight Music, and he was looking for a partner. And I had, run into some cash through selling some tickets and all of that.
And were you going out to California to buy records as stock?
Basically, what I thought about was, because I had been good friends with Rainbow Records, Mike Serber, LaVon Pagan, and that whole scene. And, that was kind of like my mentor looking at it. I thought about opening a record store, because the reason why a record store to me was going to work is I was starting to find bands. I was starting to do shows, and to me it was like a place where you could sell tickets, walk in traffic, and it was a mom and pop store to the fullest, and we specialized in badass metal music, which no one around here did.
So, okay, before you started your own record store, even with Midnight Music, what were the record stores that you shopped at?
The record stores that I shopped at was, number one was Rainbow Records in Oklahoma City on 23rd. There was a guy there named Mike Serber, Metal Mike. And Metal Mike was so cool about new music, new metal, If it wasn't for Mike, I would have never got my hands on the white.
Hang on just a second. We're going to pause real fast. Josh, will you let them in?
Look like Zach Watt. Sorry, guys.
Y'all got to be quiet.
Yeah, sit over there and wait your turn.
That was Austin.
All three of them.
They were like children the last time I saw them.
Yeah.
I recognize them.
Actually, I'm going to pause. Everybody silence the phones.
Okay, so we'll go back to shopping at Rainbow with Mike Serber.
Hold on. Did you stop, or did you just keep rolling? Okay. So you were shopping at Rainbow.
Yeah, shopping at Rainbow was one of my main stores, because I thought it was so cool. I had a guy that called me up when he got records in and go, hey, come down here and check it out. I got some stuff that you need to see before you put it out. Without that kind of deal, I would have never gotten the Leather Records Motley Crue version, the 7-inch, Stick to Your Guns, Metallica, Kill 'Em All. This man turned me on to so much music. And I had met him getting gas at the 7-Eleven after a Judas Priest concert in Dallas, Texas at Moody Coliseum. It was Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. So, that was the guy. And then there was another guy named LaVon Pagan, and he did the buying, and he was more into some, other type of music. Eclectic is what I want to call it.
Eclectic.
Eclectic.
Okay.
There's another one of those words, Max.
Okay, so you guys can be that. When I get to that word, I'll give you the signal.
All right. And if we use longevity,
I'll give the thumbs up
for longevity.
So, just that. And so I was always intrigued by that, looking at a venture, driving the wrecker, and just it comes to the head.
Literally opening a record store is like a lifelong dream for every music head growing up when you're a kid. When you're shopping at record stores, the whole time you're in there, you're not only shopping for music, but you're plotting how you would set up your own record store if you owned one.
Well, and so I was able to, do that, and I bought into one. And we're going to go back to my father. My father always knows best, and he would always tell me. So when I went down there and presented this deal to him, bad deal, don't do it. And being like the rebel I was trying to be, I'm going to show my father that I can definitely, he's going to have to eat those words. Well, few months down the road,
He
everything-
hasn't yet, has he?
No.
There's a common theme. Your dad keeps giving you good advice, and you keep not taking it.
Well, and
it's
when
a common theme in your life, Max.
He's going to start charging you for that advice.
Well,
soon.
he already has. So, so basically, all set in. Think it's all good. Things are going okay, and we're starting to get some things rolling. That was when we were under the Midnight Music terms. We became Midnight Productions. We're going to do shows. We're going to branch out on our own. Well, about 6 months into it, it didn't really happen that way due to a argument with the female employee that I had. Plus, it didn't hurt. It didn't help when you had. Can I say this? 2 lesbian ladies that moved into the building next door that were Max Baker haters from high school that I never knew.
Well, I don't know how she would describe it.
So anyway,
It was a screaming match. It wasn't an argument.
Well, we had a little screaming match, and basically those ladies are next door neighbors, pretty much, would call in on us, and it'd always be when I was there, And so once again, the black cloud come over me, and one day it all came to a head and said, the owner walks in. I didn't know he's the owner. He told me his name was PB Odom, and told me that I had to vacate his premises because he owned it.
Where was the location of Midnight?
74th and I-240 in Penn.
Okay.
It started out as
strip mall.
It started out as the Rainbow Records
On the north side or the south side? of
on the
240?
south
South side
side.
of 240.
Okay.
And so
About halfway down in that
Next
strip
to
mall.
August Moon.
Next to
Well,
August
Chinese
Moon.
place.
few days next door, there was one of the first subways in Oklahoma City went right next door to it. But to make a long story short, he told me I had to get out, and I told him there's no way I'm going to because I'm half owner. Well, it was
Your name was never put on the
my
paperwork?
name was never put on the lease, and so I called my brother's friend who was a brand new attorney. His name was Joe Reynolds, and I said, "Hey Joe, man, I got a problem here. What should I do?" And his exact words to me were, "You need to take half of everything that you have right now and vacate the premises. If you don't," and this was like at 5:00 in the afternoon. So I had to get some friends, get some boxes, get some people, and literally split it up.
Yeah, you had an office set up and back and everything.
I had everything. And then so once that happened, then what did I have to do? Well, I had all this stuff. I didn't have a building. Couldn't go to my dad because he'd see, I told you so. And so I ended up finding space over here on 84th and Southwestern. And that became Choice Music.
That was the very first.
That was the very, and it was all the inventory was started with, what half I pulled, and I lost a lot of good stuff, memories and everything. Sadness about the whole thing of it is moving, and as we get on to it, this was like a first downfall, but I had to bring myself up. It wasn't really a first downfall, but it was in some degree because it was the first downfall that I'd actually took all the responsibility for. And so we get Choice Music up and running, and didn't have money for racks. It was just a mom and pop store, so we had crates on the floor with records and things like that. And so the man next to me to my right, he came in as a customer. His name was Cory. But the odd thing about it was he'd come in and he would look around and he would tell me that my records were a mess, but yet he would advertise them for me, And then he's like, "Hey, if you ever need any help, I'm available," and gave me his phone number, And at that time, from this point, I'm gonna let him tell it because it's pretty much what happened.
So that's what happened.
So this is Alan Cory. Alan Cory worked for me from what 19.
Yeah, Alan.
Up to like 99 or something.
He worked from like 1994 95.
Yeah, to 99.
95. Yeah, 95
The
till
time
99.
when I was in college, it was like
Yeah.
I was in college the whole time.
Yeah.
That's what was going on. Yeah, so that was my college
but
job then.
During this time, we were able to do a lot of great things.
But you knew Max before all of this, correct?
That's what I was saying. Yeah, because from the same neighborhood, like you grew up on Young's, and I was on Country Club, and I remember seeing you. I was like in the first grade on my mini bike, you know, and like, oh, that's Max over there. That was like Greg's brother, you know, because Greg was like the motocross guy, and I was just a grom to Max then. I mean, he was like, you know, that much. Not like we were homies then, but I walked in the store that day because I mean, I was making the rounds. I mean, I knew all the record stores in Oklahoma City because I mean, I was buying records since I was a kid. I used to ride my bike to Sound Warehouse on the back roads to 240 with like holding albums on one hand and riding against the wind this way. And I came in the store that one day and I remember sitting on the ground going through records, and you were talking on the phone about the Jeff Beck and Santana show that was going to happen. And I remember going up to you afterwards, you know, that's legit. It's a real show. And then it's saying like, hey, do you need help here? And I never hear anything. And so a couple of weeks later, I walk in the store to do my record shopping, and it's like, there you are, man. I lost your phone number, man. Yeah, and so I was working the next day, and I stayed through all the entities of versions of that record store until I graduated from college, and then it was like, I need this, you know, because I would get paid like in albums and money. So it's like, you know, it'd be like, okay, you owe me $180, and it'd be like, okay, these are the records I need today, and it'd be okay, so okay, 110 plus these, and it'd be like, gotcha. So
You know,
yeah.
But the other part of it is, though, he adapted. He learned how to, because there's a special art to buying memorabilia. There's a special art to buying the records, the CDs, because, you know, and this is what's been told to me from the time I've opened the store till today. A record or a piece is only worth as much as what a person will pay for it.
Absolutely.
You could have $100,000
Absolutely.
Beatle record and only get $10 for it, you know?
Or you can get more than that if somebody just has to have it.
Yeah. And so, you know, that's, and to this day, any kind of record store that I shop in still does that kind of dealing, you know? And I mean, and so but during this time with Alan, you know, it gave me a little bit of more air and opportunity. I was able to book more concerts. I was able to, you know, because I had a guy.
If you're not having to spend as much time minding the store and you got somebody who can do it, that frees you up to do other things.
Well, I had a key, and basically for those 4 years, it was either you were in the store or I was in the store. And we were
there together too a lot,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, we were able to really do some cool functions. That's when we got into one of those midnight sales. Did you do any midnight sales with me?
I don't remember
That
that.
was later on. But
Yeah.
but this man to my right here, he's opened 3 stores with me. You know, I mean,
So what was the next location after this original one on 80?
This is the one across the street,
Across the street.
next to the veterinarian. Yeah,
On the other side of the diner.
yeah.
It was on the other side. What happened was me and the
Where the dispensary is now?
there's
Yeah,
a dispensary there. Yeah,
Oh, he can say
it
that
used
about
to
every
be.
corner here
It
now.
used to be. What was it? It was a tool place.
Black and Decker.
But yeah, Black and Decker. So, but I had to move. What happened at the first location was, you know, back then we had bands playing in the parking lot. Would just roll up, put a cup out for gas money, things like that. They played till the cops come, you know, and then I'd roll up with those buses and do those Pantera bus trips. And next door was Dan's Old Time Diner, so I would, I would offer a ticket, a ride, and go get burgers from next door.
Hey, isn't that where you met Barney and Carla?
Yes, and I met another couple named Barney and Carla Barney and Carla White, who went on to, they went to work with Jeff at DCF. They were part of DCF. And, you know, it was kind of like that little area where I met Alan, you know, and Barney and them. Carla would help me in the store. Barney was build things, so
Right.
he built all the racks,
All the racks for the record
that,
store.
and then but the owner of the
Carly used to watch Austin when Austin was a kid.
and so then the old time diner owner didn't really care for that, so that made a ruffle in the feathers of the owner, and pretty much we couldn't agree on rent. And there happened to be a building, once again I called my dad. Hey, so this is the spot I'm in. He's like, and his exact words were, "Whatever you do, if you're going to move, make sure you don't move away from where you are right now." And by the blessing, I was across the street, and we went there. We moved there. Away we went.
It's pretty fortuitous because that's when you got you got all the records from KRXO, right?
Yeah.
And so the back of the store was 4 feet high of records.
It was a maze to get through there to get to the bathroom.
At one
I
time,
remember all those records
this was
back
when
in there.
everybody was changing into CDs, and they were practically just throwing them away.
Oh yeah, at that period of time in the 90s, you could get, especially if you went to garage sales, you could find thousands of records for like a nickel a piece that would be $40 or $50 to the right now.
But we didn't even have to do that. People would bring them into us for next
because they just wanted to get the space.
They wanted to get rid of them, and
how many did you get from KRXO? How many did you get from KRXO?
It was thousands.
I got the cats too.
It was. I'm telling you, it was 4 feet
Zubek's
high.
pissed right now hearing that.
But that was the thing. I had to I went through all of them. It was like,
but it all happened. It was a one-day deal. Yeah. Take it or leave it. Whether I had the money in my pocket or not, it was a hustle. Yeah. That's the one thing about the record store.
And that store was a lot nicer when you moved across the street.
We cleaned it up.
You definitely upgraded, and it was definitely a nicer place. And you had a lot of foot traffic coming there.
Okay, so Max, were you ever a SoundScan reporter?
Yes, I was.
At what point were you a SoundScan reporter?
I was a SoundScan reporter, and they also had, what was that, Concrete Corner, the metal shop,
Concrete marketing.
Yep. I was a designated dealer there and a reporter. I also SoundScan I did from like 90 from the second location on Western all the way through Choice Music when they kind of disbanded it, or it went digital.
So were you always selling new music, or did that come later where you set up accounts through distributors and were selling new music?
When we started pretty much new music, but it was mainly used.
Right.
But then again, because my idea was, and what was told to me in the record store business, that they would buy one and then they'd probably buy a used one. But then again too, we had records, and back then they had no new vinyl. If you got a vinyl record off of a person of anybody famous, from Dylan to Stones to whoever, Pearl Jam, whatever, it was an import.
Absolutely.
It was an import.
Because all the presses were there.
It still stayed overseas, and that was the other thing that I specialized in. Overseas CD singles and things like that.
Imports,
bootlegs. People, the younger generation that are used to the streaming platforms, they don't understand that those UK single, the German single, the Japanese single, all of these countries had their own single releases, and the B-sides would be different. And it would be the only place you could get it was from that specific one.
Correct. And then the other part of it is,
or there'd be a live cut on there that from that tour, and you couldn't get that live cut anywhere else.
It's the only place it was available.
And I had connections with bootlegs. Alan could tell you there were things that you would get in there and you'd go.
It was the internet and YouTube before that existed. I mean, that's like the Dylan show in London in like '66, like the Judas and all that. So that was the first time I ever heard it. Was on a boot at the store. And I remember when you got that, it was like, holy shit, look at this. And I remember calling Basile and Basile coming to the store. And we listened
They
to it
were
together.
listening to it after closing
I
time.
go, listen to this. Can you believe it? This thing, that you just read about, there it is on CD. And so, yeah, it was.
And you guys were getting videos too. You guys had a lot of VHS.
Hey, listen.
Those times were wild, man.
I mean,
Wild.
I had ways to get videos. Plus, I filmed my own by doing shows.
No.
Remember the hotel?
You did that?
There was like the hotel on 39th and Portland that would have like the record
Holiday
show.
Inn.
Yeah, they had the record
Holiday
shows,
Inn.
and they would have
Yeah.
all those like videos and stuff. And that's like what you were saying. I mean, I'd come to work and it'd be like, okay, I need you to record this. There'd be like
Right.
10 shows I need to record.
Kiss was deep. Who else?
Stones, Dead.
Stones, the Grateful Dead, Led Zeppelin. But it's people would come in and they wouldn't ask about.
It didn't matter, dude. Somebody would some chick would come in and want like a Tori Amos show, and it'd be sure, whatever you say, and you'd record it. I mean, we had everybody.
I had these traders.
So you were just dubbing them yourself. You were buying them and then dubbing them yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody
Or recording them and
selling
dubbing them. Because I found my cold gin at the Alcatraz on New Year's Eve that you recorded. I found the now you didn't record this one, but I found the double live Guns N' Roses. What was it? April 6th, 92
Yeah.
at the Marriott. That was all done professional.
Well, I mean,
Hey, I'm gonna need that.
at the
I'm gonna need a copy of that.
at the store.
I'm gonna need to
but
get
at-
it on digital. Is what
But
I
at the
need.
store,
We can make that happen.
Really good.
At the store just came easy because those people would come in to deal with it, and Alan was good enough to deal with people like that. If I wasn't there.
Well, I was in college when Dave Matthews was filming the remake of Where the Red Fern Grows in Tahlequah. And that's when the bootleg industry came crashing down because his manager flew into Tulsa and went around to all these record stores.
Right. Pulled 'em.
And was just looking for boots. And when he found them, all of a sudden every fucking store in Tulsa got cease and desist. And then
it spread to Oklahoma City.
And everybody who carried boots freaked out and were just like, no, we're pulling everything. And just set on it.
Well, it's pretty scary when you get a phone call and they ask you, we heard you were selling 9-inch nails, 311, and Bunny Rate. Do you have any of that stuff in the store? And I learned more about it when I went to California because I'd fly out to California every now and then and look and see what I could buy. But some of the record stores owners out there, that I was very tight with, they had ways of telling you, hey man, don't carry this artist, don't carry that artist, but then again too, now you flip to 2022. And I always use the greatest band, the greatest rock and roll band in the world, the Rolling Stones. They have so many bootlegs with quality stuff on it that the only way a person could get that kind of stuff is they have to be in the mix. Or they're the band, which is what they do. They make money every which way possible. And then if you look at some of the LPs and the vinyl that's out now, you got tons of those boots that I have on bootleg CD that now they're released.
So, Alan, what do you think was the coolest record that you got in your possession from your days at Choice Music as a shopper or employee?
No, I was saying that story. The Hendrix Electric Ladyland with the.
It's a good story. Tell them the story, Alan.
So I'm not working at the store. This is the one on 59th, and I came there just to visit, and like you and like Big Rick, or like we're in the back, and hey, can you stay there front? Yeah, I know how to run the register. I'll stay there. So I'm there. And these two chicks come to the front door and like poke their head in. They're young, but at least they were. One of them at least had to be 16 because she was driving. And they poke their head in. And
Maybe.
Like, yeah, dude.
Southside.
Yeah. It's like, you guys buy records? Yeah, absolutely, we buy records. Come on in. So they come in. They have a stack of records, about like 30. Plop them on the counter. I stick them up and I'm looking at it. And I get about halfway through and my eyes just bulge out, but I'm trying to keep a poker face.
Yeah.
And
you can't reveal that.
And so I lay him back down. I go, hang on one moment. And I go to the back, and it's like Big Rick, Ring, and whoever. And I go, okay, everybody, psst, Max is going to go outside. He's going to buy these chicks records, and nobody's going to say a thing. Just psst, like that. And so, sure, Alan, no problem, no problem. Go out to the front. Max grabs these records and starts going. He gets to the one that I'm talking about, and everybody's eyes bulge out like that, and nobody says a word. And so
Max has got a good poker face when he's going through LPs.
He lays these records down, and he looks at it and he goes, I can give you about $20 for these records. So they're like, perfect, thanks. And he's like, ching, gives them the $20. They got to the car, they vamoose, and he looks at me, he goes like, I'm guessing you want this one, right? Yeah, I want that one. I want that one. He goes, give me $10. And I'm $10 for it. Yeah, and I've still got it. Yeah.
Hey, but that's what we did.
And what album was it?
It's the Jimi Hendrix Electric Ladyland, the overseas copy that's got the
naked chicks,
the topless chicks all over the front back. Yeah. And the records,
of course, you still have it to this day.
Absolutely, dude. I think I played it once at my buddy V-Roy's house because he's got a bitchin' stereo. We played it once there. I never played it at my own house. So.
I've got tons of vinyl I've never played. Pink Floyd on pink vinyl, it's never been played. Rush Red Sector A on red vinyl, it's never been played.
But the coolest thing about it is go to 2022 today. Jeff still hauls me around. And where do
all these record
where
stores.
do I go? I go shopping at record stores because once I walk into a place like that, where do you go for serenity? Where do you go for peace? Where do you go? Some people.
And it's weird because we go into record stores in other states and other towns, and I don't know, 4 out of 10 times there's someone in there that knows Max. We'll be going through stuff and someone will go, that sounds like Max Baker. I guess you have a distinctive voice.
I don't know.
Yeah,
do I?
Do. Yeah, you do. So
I've heard thousands imitations of it. I know that.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal.
So,
have I got a deal for you?
Record stores are so different now. I mean, like I said, I've been going to record stores since I could ride a bike by myself, and there's St. Louis vintage vinyl, and there's stores in Iowa City, stores in Chicago and Lawrence that I've been to when we were on the road, and you go into record stores now and there's just this store of cool according to whoever owns it. I mean, you'll go into, for instance, like you can go down this, you can go to up north and go to what's one guest room.
Yeah.
Right? You go to the guest room, go over to in the rock section and go under D, and they'll have 3 copies of every Nick Drake record. And I can tell you, in my existence of being a record shopper, I've never seen a Nick Drake record from back in the day.
Right.
To sell, like Big Star. I mean, I remember seeing in my entire life, seeing one real vintage Big Star record at a record store, and it was at Vintage Vinyl in St. Louis, and it was on the wall for $89, and I couldn't afford it. So I mean, it's like record stores now. I mean, it's no different than in my humble opinion, it's no different than going to Best Buy was in the '90s when you could just get every CD you wanted. I mean, it's like any record you want.
Now they don't even have an aisle for records or CDs. Yeah. Or when you go into Target, they've got vinyl.
Yeah, if you want it, you just go buy it. There's the hunt part, the hunt and the discovery, all of that is gone. I mean, it's not like you're like I was.
And that was cool.
Yeah,
though.
That's what I was talking about. The place that used to be in this strip mall.
Happy Days?
No, the Beat Bookshop. Remember that?
Okay, yeah.
I remember being in the
That was over there.
It's right over there. I remember being in the Beat Bookshop, and they had some records, and I remember going through the records, and I'm finding it and taking it up to the counter, and it's the American flag on the cover, and the dude at the counter looking at me and smirking at me like I'm a fool, I'm buying this record. And he looks at me, he goes Bruce Springsteen, huh? And I just went gave him my $4. He gives me my change or whatever, and I go, no, dude, Sly and the Family Stone. And it's Sly and the Family Stone. There's a riot going on Gatefold, and that was I found that he didn't know it was there. I was in Hot Springs like a couple of months ago, and there's this guy that's got a record store in Hot Springs that's like Charlie's was. It's like all these like stereo gear, and he's got all this wall of records, just like none of them organized or anything. And I go through and I find like 10 records that were just bitching that I had to have, like Lightning Hopkins, Kraftwerk, Pink Floyd, all these records that he had. Pulled them out and none of them priced. Whether hand them up to him and he's like, hold on a minute, and he takes his records and goes over to the internet and starts looking everything up. Then he gives me. Then
You
he
can't do that.
He did that, and I was like, oh, it's like that. He's like, yeah, and so I immediately knew I'm not getting all of them, right? So, but and so I ended up getting like the Lightning Hopkins records. You never pass up a Lightning Hopkins record. They're always good. And
Kraftwerk, isn't that
Obscured
aren't they
by
the one
Clouds,
that
Pink Floyd.
And Kraftwerk, isn't they one that the Audubon song?
Yeah, but you got to pronounce it like Kraftwerk.
They sure. That's you know what I can tell you
I'm
about
a dumb
Kraftwerk?
American.
Kraftwerk.
That's Mike Serber's favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're bitching. I saw them in Austin before the guy died. They played at the University of Texas in Austin.
I remember some guys from California turned me on to that, from Colorado turned me on to that song about the Audubon.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so cool. Audubon.
I was like, I'm the operator of my pocket calculator.
That's some cool shit. I totally forgot about that band.
But now you like discovered records back then. Now it's just there to be bought. And if you're cool enough or knowledgeable enough to know that oh, I want Captain Beefheart, Clear Spot. Wow, cool, there it is. I mean, when I was a kid, you had to find that record.
You had to go digging for it.
Yeah.
But here's some other things about Alan working at the store. At that time, we had the Midnight Dolls. We had bus trips. We were selling concert tickets, and we were booking local bands. Alan happened to be in one of the coolest local bands there ever is or ever was, the Reverb Brothers.
The Reverb Brothers.
Which are very dear to my heart, and they used to practice. Didn't you practice at the store a couple times?
We did a couple of times. We did, especially on the one on Western.
Right.
Because we had the space on the HB logo.
Right.
Yeah.
So
get this, Alan. We're listening to the Reverb Brothers CD on the way to Nashville.
That's the good one.
To see
Blow Dry?
Yellow Wolf.
I found one.
That's the good one. Yeah.
And so, and then to me, the live one on KRXO, David Kelso.
You still have that?
Yes, I do.
Oh, goddamn, I need a copy of that. I don't have it.
Badass.
Oh, yeah, Kreider and Basile were fucking shredding that night. Oh, it was assault.
He used to always do that, Stop Breaking Down?
Yeah, we did that, and Booglerize You Baby, the Captain Beefheart song.
So, that part, and then just...
That's Studio 7.
Studio 7 where we did Cold Chamber.
Yeah, it was killing.
Yeah. But the cool parts about it, like you had mentioned something to me while we were talking, is you opened for Zakk Wylde with the Reverb Brothers, and you also opened for that legendary Steve Vai show
with the Diamond,
where he burnt
the bus burned down.
That's what I'm saying. It was a nightmare, dude. That was terrible.
And so you went in loving the artists and not really giving a frick about it at the end of the day.
So we show up at the time you're supposed to show up, like 2, and then you're normal. I mean, I only played there like 2 or 3 times, but you'd show up and you'd set up your gear, and the sound guy would get your level set, and then you'd get your crap out of the way, and the headliner would do it, and then you'd put your gear back on there, and they're already preset.
Right.
So they had like Vi's stuff set up, and then the guitar tech had like 2 of those black square tables like shoved together like a long table. And
working on that guitar.
Working on the guitar, and I remember it was one of those white signature Ibanez with like the hand thing, and and the guy's like going over there like soldering and tinkering and stuff, and he'd go up on the stage and play it, and like nice, and he'd go back there, nope, do something. It'd be like 30 more minutes, and he'd get back up there, and it'd sound exactly. I'm guessing it's just getting the action right. I mean, I get it now, but it was like hours, and so we finally get our gear set up, and then we finally play. And by the time we finish playing, I'm done with Steve Vai, dude. I mean, he's
see. There's a totally different take on that show.
He's an acknowledged maestro. I'll give you that much. But it's like at this point,
you'd had enough.
I had enough.
You didn't go home and watch Crossroads.
No.
So, what all locations did you work, Alan?
I worked at the one we're talking about, the aforementioned one by the 50s diner, the one on Western across the street, and then I worked at the hellhole on Western by the liquor store, and on was it like 43rd?
Yeah, 43rd.
Yeah.
It was across the street from what we thought we would do was go do Choice Music 2, expand over to the north
It's
side.
such a good location. It's such a good location.
And we looked around.
See, I've
looked
forgotten
around,
about that
and
store.
Matt Hoffman had a bike shop, and skateboard shop, and he vacated it, and we took it over.
Yeah.
We went in. We didn't even change anything. We left the HB logo on the floor.
Yeah.
That's where you'd practice. We opened it up, but the crazy part about it is it had no foot traffic. It had no, because we used to have a lot of people that would come from north and come south.
And no parking over there in that area, really.
No,
Just like
not
the 6 spots in
six
the front,
cars,
yeah.
and so
And there wasn't a crowd over there either.
and plus, and then then the Will Rogers show stopped. So there went your foot traffic and people knowing about it, because the idea of it was them to buy a ticket over there at the shop and walk across the street and see the show.
Go to Will Rogers, go to the
And-
show.
Like, I forgot that. I remember it was hotter than balls all the time.
Yeah, and, you know,
we didn't. You told me we didn't have AC.
we
It's like
just-
that's.
You know,
dude, it was such a hustle. I mean, people would.
That's a
come
perfect
in.
building for vinyl records, Max. No AC,
Hey.
hot as hell. It's
yeah,
awesome.
but the downfall of it was about 6 months into it, a water main broke and flooded everything in the store, and that was my way to walk out, and I walked out with nothing. Here we go, another loss. And
There was
so,
There was a couple of days. I mean, you'd call and be like, "What's going on up there?"
Nothing.
Not a goddamn thing. I mean, I'm trying, dude. I mean, but it's like there was I think there was maybe 2 days where nobody came in.
and then we
Is
got.
that when you moved to 23rd?
Like,
To the tower?
What happened then was I got back and it came to the point where 8503 was the address over here on Western, and it had come to the point to renew. I had lost on that venture, and I was pretty much on my way out. We had acquired the Tower Theater, and what came with the Tower Theater was the building next door, which put me in a perfect position.
Which
to
is
think,
what now, Pony Boy?
No, that was to the right. Like if you're looking at the tower, it's to the left,
The
closest to Walker.
That was the bunker or whatever.
It's some kind of restaurant now,
Or
and
Honey Bunny
next door
Biscuit
was
Club
the
or something.
Vietnamese shop or whatever they called it.
The grocery store on the end.
Yeah. So, so I'm thinking, okay, great. This is good. So I ended up moving everything, getting out of 85th, moving over there. Everything became centrally located next door to the tower. And my idea was shows over there, records, and it worked. It was open for a little bit to where it was working, where people would come in, especially the ones that came in from out of town. Because you got to remember, in the metal shows that I did, pretty much I would say 80% of the crowd that showed up traveled more than 50 miles. to see
Well,
the
also,
show.
Max, you would open up that store to bands that would play there. You'd take them
Right.
there at night after everything had closed and let them shop
I had
with
some
the,
pretty
with the
good
places.
walkouts on the,
Absolutely.
I mean, you got a band like Hammerfall comes all the way rolling through America, and there's a record store right there, and they're freaking on the records that they're buying, and they don't care.
And they didn't have to shop with the public because you
Correct.
could
Correct.
take them in there when it was closed.
And so, we get this.
It was
thing.
a good deal. It was, as the
vibe.
shows were building up at the tower and you were building up business at the record store. I mean, it was really looking good.
Yeah, the thing is though, like I said, in my opinion, the vibe, the true vibe of Choice Music was the store next to the second one.
I agree.
That's where we had all the records.
The second
and,
one, yeah.
I mean, you come in and there was like there was a speaker in each corner, like up of the ceiling set up quad, and so it was like right, left, and so you could stand in the middle and it would like hit you in different.
And the kiss pinball machine in
the
there
Kiss
too.
pinball machine was there. Yeah, I was pretty good at that. Not great,
Yeah.
but anyway, you had to be gentle with it.
And
though.
Austin was behind the counter as a little kid.
Yeah.
No, and you always had the candles going, and you always had the black love burning, and it was a total,
It had a cool vibe.
It was a total vibe, and there wasn't anything like it. And it's like I said, like I was saying, if we had been 2006 instead of 1996, we wouldn't have been millionaires, or we'd have been thousandaires. You know, it was choice.
You know,
So what you're saying is
that's like the name. You know, this is the name I just thought up at the moment, and you know, but as we go further and we dig deep and we see this, hear this podcast and things, you know, it's all a build up to what was to become. You know, but
so when did you move to 59th?
I moved to 59th the day after January 11th, 2000.
Okay. And how many years were you in that building?
I was there from 2000
Until the
to
fire.
2004, November 4th, 2004.
Because that's the store that I was in Tulsa, and when you would put us on shows, I would have to drive down to sign the contract and pick up the tickets and all of that, and and do some shopping while I was there. You know,
that store on 59th was where I was able to do the other side. I was kicking it, doing the other side, did the diamond every so often.
Okay, so which location did you take Petty and Mike Campbell to?
I took them to the first one.
The first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same way with the Black Crows and Ian Moore.
Okay. So what about the second one?
And where was the famous Hanson one?
The first one.
The first one. Okay.
God, I remember walking in that store when the Hanson thing was set up on the front. I'm going, what the heck is that thing? And you're like, trust me, man, like that. And it was like, mom's coming in.
So you were you there when the mom and the kids came in?
I wasn't there to see them. I was just there to see the aftermath.
He was the one selling the CDs.
I was there seeing the aftermath.
And all those little kids that come in wanting those CDs?
Yeah, absolutely. It was like, I stand corrected.
Max, can you believe it? Max Baker's the underground place to get Hanson CDs.
But that was the kind of stuff that we did.
Hey, you made a lot of money off Hanson.
I stayed in business. You know, I mean, at some point it all becomes about the hustle. You know, and I'm going to go back and use my dad's quotes. You should be in the country. You'd be a lot better off.
There was the guy. I was there, and these two little wormy guys came in. This is the second store. No, it's the first store, the small one next to the 50s Dine. They came in, and I remember they bought Olivia Newton-John. They bought the picture disc.
Yes.
And like a couple of other things, and they were really into Olivia Newton-John. And I'm like, you know, hey, dude, this is my chance. I'm going to unload this stuff. And it was like, you take a check. And I'm like, okay. And I go through all the motions of like, you know, getting the proper ID, scanning it, doing everything. And
yeah, people don't do that now.
And who knows what a check is now? Anyway, and it bounces.
It comes back.
It came back, and I'm like, God damn it! And then
you got taken on Olivia Newton-John.
And I swear to God, this happened. I probably saved Max's life this day. But the guy came back. It had to have been well over a year, and it's at the other store. And I'm in there by myself, and it was the guy. He wasn't with his friend. He was just him. I remember he had these little bitty like hands, like pan or something like that. Little bitty tiny hands.
Little bitty Elton John
just
hands.
Little bitty hand. Anyway, he's looking around the store, and then it hits me. That's the guy. Like, and I remember
that's the Olivia Newton-John guy.
That's the Olivia Newton-John guy. And I remember picking up the phone and going, and I was gonna rat him out, and I was in the process of ratting him out, like, hey, it's the guy. He's here. and then I realized, dude, if I do this, it's going to be Max and Big Rick and what other wranglers he brings with him, and they're going to take this guy back, and that's going to be
dude's going to get a beat down out back. Absolutely,
that's going to be the end of Choice Music, and so what?
It'll be the end of his thieving days too.
Well, and so I remember I just went like, yeah, I remember saying out loud, yeah, he's right here. I'm looking at him. It's the guy that stole the Olivia Newton-John records, and he's like. And I just sit there and looking at him, and he finally kind of walks out the door. It's like,
notice he didn't come up to pay for it to make it right.
No, he legged it out of there. But that's what as much as he deserved it and as much as I wanted to see it happen, no, we're not going to.
It was kind of ruthless back then.
You would have felt better, I promise.
I don't know. Because I wanted those records.
But the other part of it is we didn't get beat out of stuff very often,
No.
I mean, I remember catching this one old dude. He was like the best customer.
Oh, that guy.
He was the best
boot
guy customer you could ever imagine. And there were 3 people in the store one time, and this lady's at the counter, and I'm selling her records.
But preface it, because you had that big, locked
glass
cabinet.
yeah.
That
And
big
so I'd unlock
and you'd only unlock it. You only let certain people look at them. You'd unlock it for people and stand there. But he was one of the guys that could stand there.
I got to look at the glass cabinet.
And so,
cool.
And so this lady, as I'm selling her stuff, tells me he's stealing CDs, and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, couldn't be. So I walked up to the guy and I go, "Hey man," he had a coat on. I go, "Hey dude, I need to check you." And we're talking about a dude who worked at Tinker that was a family man, and I caught him.
He was in there countless times.
I caught him, and I'm like, this isn't cool, dude. And this guy starts throwing down begging, telling me that if this goes on his record, that he'll lose his job, And it's like, me, I had a record. I didn't care. But you're stealing from me, dude. And you're caught. And,
And he'd done it before.
Yeah, so I literally pulled everything out from that he had.
Did he have a lot?
Huh?
Did he have a lot?
He had about $500 worth of shit.
Oh, no shit.
And I ended up taking the money out of his wallet.
Damn right.
Helping him with his cash?
And I said, because if you've been coming in here and you've been led to this and I trusted you, what else have you been doing?
Exactly.
And I told him, I'm going to give you, and for once in my life, rather than having a beat down and hurting the dude and doing all that, I said, I'm going to give you a chance, if this job you have really matters to you, to come clean on what you owe me, and then you're going to pay me back.
What did he say?
I said, you have 24 hours before I turn it into the police, because I took that lady and made her a witness.
Oh, okay. So you got all her.
So I had a witness.
Oh, that's awesome.
For once in my life, I was
going to say, you did it right, Max.
I had it all covered. And so he came back in and said, I've thought about what you said, and I feel like I need to.
And I quit my job. Fuck you, I'm out.
No, he didn't do that, because I feel like I need to redeem myself. And and we came to the tune of about $3,000.
Oh, really?
Wow.
And
that wouldn't take. That'd be 100 CDs of that. I mean, it wouldn't take long to get.
Well,
that.
you got to remember, he was coming in and spending $500, but taking another $500.
Yeah.
Once he figured out he wasn't going to get caught.
So he'd always spend some while he was taking that
and then
way.
make you look like he was your good customer.
No, I understand
and
how it
and
works.
back then too, I wasn't smart enough or had the capabilities or the money.
Well, you didn't
to
have
an
cameras.
inventory system
Or have cameras everywhere like they do now. You couldn't get by with that shit now.
And so you had to be really good at it. So then, and the thing of it is, the dude did pay, because I told him, at any given moment, if you quit making these deals, I will call in on you.
You had him over a barrel.
And so
did he pay the full $3,000?
He paid the full, but he never got to come back.
So you wouldn't sell anything else?
Told him no, he wasn't welcome in my store.
You John Cusacked him? You just straight up said, no.
I'm out. Because to get your shit robbed.
Hey, he's lucky you didn't turn him in. He'd have been in trouble at Tinker.
No, he would have probably lost his job at Tinker. All
right, Max. What do you think? What year did you say the last incarnation of Choice Music burned down? Would you say 2004?
November 4th, 2004.
Okay, so what do you think was the most prized possession that you had in the store that you lost?
Wow.
That's tough. That's tough to narrow it down, because I know what was in that store.
Can I give you 5?
Yeah, absolutely.
One was, I'll never forget, I had the promo that I had gotten myself of Guns N' Roses' Appetite Destruction, all 5 band members.
With the original cover.
With the, 8x10.
Oh, okay.
Because
Promo
the
glossy.
crazy part about all that, I had a Keith Richards autograph that I had gotten from Buddy Blaze that was personalized to me.
Right.
I got another one later on in life, and I had that Guns N' Roses one there, and I used to put them in the store on 59th. And for some reason, I took the Keith one home. I lost that. I can't even begin to tell you the Kiss collection memorabilia.
The
that
9 Inch
I lost
Nails
and would
flat?
sell.
The 9 Inch Nails flat that you talked
And
about?
the 9 Inch Nails of Trent Reznor that he had given us working at, and the hard card that he had given us working at Kinetics, on Pretty Hate Machine.
Well, you always had cool stuff behind the counter.
Yeah.
What about the Zeppelin obelisk from
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
But the crazy part about it is I stumbled on the 10 of those and sold 10 out.
Oh, I wanted one of
don't
those so
even
goddamn bad.
I did too.
I wanted,
you'd sit there and look at that, and
sit
if
there
you
and
just
go-
have a bad day, you just stare at it like the record.
Well, they're numbered.
Okay,
There's only
so-
Yeah,
many
they
of
were
them.
numbered.
So what was the funniest, most outlandish rumor that you heard about your store burning down after the fact?
That I had torched it to get insurance money, and that he's up to no good. And basically, what happened was, I bought these neons, and I slept in that day, and the neon caught the store on fire. I remember my dad waking me up telling me, "You need to get to your shop. Your store's burning down live on Channel 4 News." And I was like, so I roll up there in pajamas to watch my whole life just go up in flames, and I'm sitting there, and I'll never forget, and I was crying, And 2004 was a terrible year for me.
Us music lovers were crying too, man, because we knew, those of us who were in bands who came there to sell tickets, we also shopped every single time.
And plus, too, all the local bands out there that had stuff on consignment. I sold a lot of local band records, and there was a local scene. It all migrated there.
Not many places at that time took consignment from local bands. There was the Hastings stores would in Stillwater and in Norman, but only if you were playing gigs in those two towns. In Tulsa, Starship would, and like Blue Moon would, but in Oklahoma City, yours was one of the few that would do it. And so, to be able to have an outlet, that was a big deal for us to say, hey, you can go here in Oklahoma City and go pick up our record.
The most thing that and talk about depressing, when that store burnt down, the news cameras in my face, and they're talking. My friend Brad White rose up on a moped and says, because he had a sign shop down the street, and he says, "Hey, buddy, I don't know what we're gonna do, but we'll think of something." But at that day, that time, that chapter closed forever. Choice Music put me in a state of depression. Also, not only was it depressing that day, but where it got more depressing was having to go through the rubble and decide what you could keep, what you could throw away. And all I did was I put it all in storage. And for the longest time, it sat there, and I paid on it, to where now you feel the 2022. Right next door to this shop, we're going to open Here's the Deal Vintage and Memorabilia, and there isn't nothing in there. 90% of that store will be leftovers from the Choice Music burning down, and it'll be cheap. But, it's something that I feel like I have to do.
Well, Alan, I'm glad you reached out and were able to come on this podcast.
King Diamond story.
You let him tell it.
So he does the King Diamond show, right?
That was at
The
Will
Rogers,
Rogers.
yeah.
He was the runner for King Diamond.
Okay.
King Diamond. And so Max has me run for King Diamond. I've never been a runner before. I don't know what this entails, but I just assumed it was to be super professional and whatever the artist wants, right? And so I cleaned out the van, had everything cleaned out and everything, and to go to pick him up at what used to be that Hilton Hotel on Northwest Expressway by that Sonic over by Baptist Hospital, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so I'm going pick up King Diamond, and it's like, I think it was even like a Saturday show. It was like
No, it was during the week.
Okay, well anyway, so I pick him up and it's like it's not dark or anything. I go to pick him up and I go to the front desk and I give whatever information I'm supposed to do, and before I can barely spit it out, here he comes. He comes walking through the lobby, and it's like if you had been sent to get Leonard Nimoy and Mr. Spock showed up. Like
he's ready to go.
Wearing street clothes. It was like, he comes out, he's got the full King Diamond makeup on, and like wearing street clothes like you and I, and like a garment bag like this, and like and he's only like, he's like what, like 5'6" or something, like he's like this tiny guy with the top hat. He was walking in, he's got his road manager, I guess, with him, and I slide the door open, they get in, he gets in the back, and the road manager sits shotgun, and I had Miles Davis, the Complete Bitches Brew, which is like super mellow in places, right? And so I had that queued up, and I've got it on like 3. I mean, like it's barely. I mean, like the wheels on the road are
making more sound than
barely there. It's just there to like mellow ambient, like, and I barely get out of the parking lot, and I hit this like. And I'm like, he's saying something. He's speaking Dane or whatever he's, or German or whatever he's speaking. And so the guy riding shotgun like, it's like, and he looks at me and he goes, he goes, shut the music off. Okay. And that was the end of any conversation. So fast forward to the show. He burns through the show. It's a full-on Merciful Fate King Diamond show, like the full thing. And I'm back
at the Will Rogers.
At the Will Rogers. And I'm back behind the Will Rogers in that little area between, like, you know,
the back door and the fence.
Yeah, the back door and the fence. And I'm sitting there, you know, waiting. And he's like, you know, all kind of like pooped and, you know, sweaty and everything. I remember this little guy comes up, and it's like this like Trekkie guy comes up, and it's like, I'm wearing this amulet in remnants of like the druid kind of like, you know, like super Trekkie, like King Diamond, and Diamond gives me one. He kind of goes like this, like, and he starts and starts to talk to the guy, and I kind of went like this, and King Diamond, and he and I go. Not a word the whole way home. He didn't want anything to do with me.
Not even thanks.
Not even thanks, dude. Not even thanks. Not even thanks in Dane. I mean, it was like nothing. But
and we know for a fact he's not a Miles Davis fan.
No, he wasn't anything. I mean,
you know what though? He may be today.
He may be today. Yeah. But there was like tons of shows like you were talking about, like Pissing Razors and all those guys. I mean, it was like incredible. Back in the day.
Well, Alan, we appreciate you coming on. I've heard these stories from Max since starting this podcast, and so it was nice to hear that you were able to come on with us.
Dude, the podcast is killer. I mean, I didn't realize how much I missed hearing Max's voice. I mean, it's been like, since I stopped working there, I've probably seen you, the last time I saw you was Basile's Wake.
But there's one thing we got to continue on with. I cannot not tell the story, and he cannot tell his version of it. So, Kiss reunion, 1996. Knowing Tommy Thayer from Cold Gin and Black and Blue, he's took a job with Kiss as Gene's assistant on this reunion tour. So, and mind you, no internet, no pagers, whatever. It's just how do you get, to the guy, and we had been on first name contact basis, and I'd had his number, so I was able to contact him, and so because I love Kiss, and so my son Dylan at the time was 10, and so I talked to Alan. Alan hadn't really been into Kiss.
I was into him when I was a kid. Kiss. I mean, the Love Gun tour was my first concert. I saw that in like 77 or whatever.
I told Alan, hey, I got a chance. Let's go see Kiss in Texas. The whole state. And so we end up our first night, and this is comps and passes for the whole thing through KISS. And so I got Alan as the driver, got Dylan, told him we're going to go on a vacation. You know, most kids' vacations were Six Flags or Disneyland.
Not your kids.
So I did what I could, but that's a little later. But anyway, me, Alan, and Dylan go off on the adventure, and we see him in Dallas. Everything's cool. Alan's the driver. We see him in Houston. Everything's cool. And then it's a dead run from Houston to San Antonio. At the end of Houston, it wasn't so cool because the van we were traveling in was not, needed to have some work on it.
It just crapped out right
We
down
just
the
had to
road.
figure out what we were going to do. So here comes my dad again, you know. Hey, can you help me? Got me a rental car, and rent a car, unlimited mileage. So the plan was, and we found a place for him being a mechanic to get the van worked on while we went to the show to come back.
Okay.
It put a hiccup in it for about a day, but Alan being the driver, I'm gonna let him tell it from there, and then I'll come back.
So
in.
we do, like I said, we do the 2 shows, and we're heading to San Antonio. And that's when the van craps out, and he hustles to get the rental, and I drove the rental every bit like it was a rental. I mean, because we had to hustle to get, because you had to be at the shows to do your thing
at a certain time.
Yeah, and so it's basically me and Dylan hanging out while you're doing that, and then we'd go to the show. And so I drove that rental like it was a rental. I mean, and we drove it straight to San Antonio, saw the show, came back, and then we had to be back in Houston to pick up the van at a certain time, or to have the rental back. And we drove the rental straight back. I mean, it's on the floor. I mean, it's like rarely am I getting below like 80, right? We turned that little rental, and like I said, it sounded like speed buggy by the time it was like.
But
it was
a trip of a lifetime.
The shows were incredible. I mean,
3 days,
fun.
3 KISS shows. You know, the last day,
2 cars.
2 cars. The last day in San Antonio, Gene Simmons and Tommy Thayer, his tech, he wanted to eat. We ended up at the Hard Rock. It was private. And then I'll never forget being in the hotel where some Mexican was showing Gene some boots that had the KISS insignias on it, which they went on to. This guy was able enough to get close enough in there to where they sold them. KISS endorsed them, you know, and just things like that. That
Price is right. If the price is right.
Just, I mean,
That's the Gene Simmons way.
This was one of many trips that Alan went on, and plus 2, he was always there to if I got myself in a jam, which I did a few different times, I would have to call him and late at night go, hey dude, I need you to do this, and this, I may not make it in there tomorrow morning, but he was always there. And to me, for my lifetime, you know how you say you go to school, you go to college for a degree. Well, choice music was probably my degree. Choice music was probably my college, because all this stuff that we're talking about now, till the death of it in 2004, from that point on, it turned into a whole new life.
It was a time of my life. Like I said, it was when I was in college, and I wasn't a hard guy to find in those years. I mean, he was either sleeping at the record store, at band practice, we're playing, and it was, I was lifelong into albums and records. It was like the time of my life.
But the main thing about all this, we could sit here and talk about, the one thing that brought me and him together more than anything was the passion and the love for music. He just didn't come in and take it as a job. He took it for the passion of the music. I mean, hey, he was able to listen to any record he wanted to.
I'm sure you didn't pay him well.
You know what? At that time, I paid what I could because I didn't have it. But
look, Alan just went to work for him because he went in that first store and couldn't find anything. And he's like, if I'm going to keep shopping here, I've got to organize this where I can find what I want to buy. That's how it really happened.
The one thing that sealed the deal on me hiring him was Happy Days was down the street.
We were just talking about Happy
and
Days.
he went and said the same deal, man. I'll work for money and records. You know, to me that's how I got my first employee. But then as he got hired, you know, and he felt me out, then he tells me the story about, you know, I tried the same deal down here at Happy Days, and every time they'd go to pay me, was it the lady or both of them?
It was the guy, man. It was
They
a
act like
terrible job, dude. It was terrible.
He used to tell me, and he thought I was stealing records. You know, and all I wanted to do is get paid in them.
He wanted he had like, you know, because that's what he did. Anybody that walked in and said they were interested in something, he'd buy it, and that's how you wind up with the store full of like T-shirts like he had and all those posters and everything. And that was my job. He had me come in there and he'd give me this list of phone numbers, and I'd be calling people and going like, hey man, that Pearl Jam T-shirt that you ordered is here now. Like, and it was just like, yeah, it wasn't anything to do with records or anything like that. And so I quit. I quit because I couldn't take it anymore. And he owed me, I remember vividly, my paycheck was going to be $77. And I remember he gave me the check, and I said, I tell you what, why don't you give me $100 in store credit? And he was like, not having any of it. And I just went, okay.
Well, that's dumb.
Which is dumb idea, because you're killing two birds with stone. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
flipping inventory.
and you know what? Back then you wouldn't look at it this way, but you look at it today. The records that you acquired then, what are they worth today?
And minimum wage wasn't anything. I mean, you're saying like you must have not been paid much. Well, minimum
like
wage
$4 1/4.
Yeah, you know, and
$5
yeah,
whatever
you
it
know,
was.
Gas was $1.50 a gallon, and
Yeah.
smokes were $1.20 a pack. And I mean, it was, you know, it didn't take much to do things
It was
back
a different
then.
time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. This has been the Here's the Deal podcast, the Max Baker Jr. story, the Choice Music Edition.
Here.